Chapter 13. A Gentle Breach. The next afternoon, the campaign office was a frenzy of activity, but Alek had strategically carved out a rare moment of peace. He instructed Rowan to join him in his private study at the headquarters, a small, windowless room used for sensitive calls, offering absolute privacy. Rowan entered, still reeling from the events of the previous night. He'd barely slept, between nightmares and his heart alternating between fierce loyalty and crushing guilt. He immediately moved to the opposite side of the small room, ready to dive into the prepared agenda.
The talking points for the counterattack are finalized, sir.
Rowan began, his voice strained in the low light of the secure room.
We can spin the donor withdrawal as clearing the deadwood, strengthening our reform message.
Alek didn't look at the memo. He was seated at a small side table, 2 mugs of steaming coffee waiting.
Sit down, Rowan. No strategy. Just 5 minutes.
Rowan hesitated, but the exhaustion won. He sat, rigid and professional, his fake pine and leather scent fighting hard against the soothing darkness of the room.
You didn't eat lunch again,
Alek observed, his gaze full of concern. A warmth Rowan felt was undeserved.
And you didn't sleep. The best manager in Eastridge can't function on fumes.
My focus is absolute, sir, I assure you.
Rowan insisted, gripping the mug in a desperate attempt to keep himself from showing weakness. Alek leaned forward, his voice dropping to the quiet, protective tone that always seemed to destabilize Rowan now.
You offered me your resignation, Rowan. That was not strategy. That was despair. And I want to know why.
Rowan's breath caught in his throat. He prepared for Alek to finally confirm the beta secret he had been keeping. But Alek didn't. He focused on the pain, not the biology.
That shame you carry. That guilt,
Alek continued, his familiar black cedar and ozone gently comforting the small space.
The pressure your father puts on you to be this idealized version of success. I see it. I feel it. When you speak about the expectations of the dynasty, you are speaking for both of us.
He paused, allowing Rowan to absorb the entirety of his understanding without calling out his carefully protected secret.
I chose you because you are as strong as I predicted. Not because you are loud or dominant, but because you are willing to fight for what is right, even when it costs you. That kind of integrity is what I need in my life, Rowan. In my campaign. And frankly, in my future.
Alek reached out, his hand settling not on Rowan's shoulder, but gently on the table between them, just inches from Rowan's white knuckles. It was a clear, physical invitation to intimacy and trust without violating the professional line.
You are not a liability, Rowan. You are my most trusted asset,
Alek murmured, his lavender eyes holding Rowan's conflicted gaze.
Allow yourself to be seen by someone who values your fight. Allow me to protect the man who works so hard to protect me.
The gentleness of Alek's voice, the genuine, non-judgmental acceptance. It was all too much. Rowan felt a sudden, sharp sting behind his eyes. He quickly lowered his head, gripping the mug, terrified that he would betray his tears, or worse, his true, neutral scent.
I can't,
Rowan choked out, the admission half apology, half terrified defense.
I can't afford to be seen. I have too much to lose.
I am risking my entire legacy to keep you here, Rowan,
Alek pointed out, his tone too tender for Rowan to bear.
What makes you think that I don't know the price of what we are doing?
Rowan didn't answer, unable to admit that he knew Alek's price was political, but his own was existential. The exposure of his beta identity.
I will win this for you, Alek. I will deliver the Eastridge City Hall. That is the only way I can repay your trust.
Alek held his gaze, understanding the unspoken vow with both pride and disappointment. Rowan couldn't accept comfort, only a command. The trust was mutual, but the vulnerability remained one-sided, guarded by the beta's painful secret. The romantic tension was a heavy, intoxicating force that now defined their working relationship. "Then let's get back to work, manager," Alek said, his voice dropping to the professional tone, but his hand lingered on the table, still close to Rowan's, a silent promise of his ongoing protection. Chapter 14. Debating the Ideal. It was late the next evening. The campaign headquarters was a hushed electric murmur of the sterile air vents and water cooler. Eli had gone to see his favorite Alpha, and only Alek and Rowan remained in the large conference room, illuminated by the cold glow of the screen projecting talking points. Rowan had requested this late-night session, needing to hammer Alek with the strongest opposition arguments possible. Rowan was in his element, adopting the persona of the traditional incumbent Alpha, his manufactured scent filling the air with aggressive confidence.
Ready, sir?
Rowan asked, adjusting his stance.
We are now the incumbent. Your policy on rezoning the lower district is a direct attack on generational wealth and Alpha tradition. Argue against me.
Alek leaned back against the table, relaxed but intensely focused. His cedar and clean, cold scent was a quiet, potent counter to Rowan's artificial aggression.
Hit me with it, Rowan.
Rowan launched his attack, his voice clear and logical, using the arguments his father had used on him his entire life.
Candidate Silverson, your platform panders to betas and omegas at the expense of established order. Alphas are the natural leaders. Stability requires dominance and established lineage. How do you defend eroding the economic power structure that built this city?
Alek smiled, a genuine, thrilling flash of white.
I defend it by pointing to the failed policy of your established order. Dominance is not leadership, counselor. It is merely force. True stability is built on shared prosperity, not inherited entitlement. I defend fairness, because an Alpha who leads only his own kind is not a leader at all. He is merely a chieftain.
The brilliance of Alek's counter-argument, the effortless way he turned a biological hierarchy into a moral failure, sent a jolt of admiration straight through Rowan.
Fluff.
Rowan countered, moving to the next point, his energy spiking.
You remain unbonded past your prime. Your refusal to take a mate for stability is a political liability. It suggests you are unstable, flighty, and incapable of long-term commitment to this city. Eastridge requires a family man to lead a family city.
Alek's eyes narrowed, the political mask hardening even further.
I refuse to bond for convenience or leverage. My commitment to this city is measured in my willingness to fight the corruption your traditional bond system facilitates. My mate will be a partner, an equal, chosen for strength of character, not family bank accounts. My refusal to cheapen the bond for politics is proof of my commitment, not my instability.
The force of Alek's conviction, the raw and beautiful display of his mind fighting for equality and fairness, was breathtaking. Rowan's heart surged with a dangerous, forbidden rush of emotion. This was the man. This was the nobility he had fallen in love with. The exhilaration of the intellectual sparring, combined with the intense proximity and the sheer rightness of Alek's arguments, was intoxicating. Rowan had to physically take a step back, the Alpha façade momentarily faltering as his gaze lingered on Alek's passionate face. Rowan quickly returned to his role, his voice strained and tight as he recited the last, most painful argument, driven by his internal desperation.
Your arguments are idealistic, Silverson. But politics is biology. You are a dominant alpha. You know the natural law. Alphas do not love other alphas, and they certainly do not partner with betas. You are trying to redefine nature, and nature will break you.
He hadn't meant to use the word betas. It slipped out, fueled by his own internal terror. Alek froze, the passion receding instantly, replaced by a quiet intensity that was far more potent than his anger. He didn't deny the betas comment, didn't challenge the alpha love statement. He simply locked his amethyst eyes on Rowan's blue gaze.
Is that your closing argument, Rowan?
Alek asked, his voice dangerously low, penetrating the lie.
That biology dictates morality? I disagree. I think choice is the most powerful force in politics, and in life, both professional and personal.
Rowan swallowed, his entire body trembling under the reality of the moment and the terrible contradiction in his heart. He knew, intellectually, that Alek was right, but socially, biologically, he knew the rules. Alphas do not love other alphas. And they certainly didn't choose beta staff managers living a lie. He broke eye contact first.
The session is over, sir.
Rowan managed to say quickly, grabbing his notes with shaking hands.
You're ready.
He fled the room, leaving Alek standing alone, the scent of his genuine conviction lingering in the air, having confirmed both the beta's brilliance and the deep-seated social terror that was preventing his chosen partner from admitting his complicated feelings. Chapter 15. The Measure of Control. The auditorium was a living thing, hot, loud, pulsing with scent and expectation. Rows of bodies packed shoulder to shoulder beneath harsh lights. Pheromones thick in the air despite the suppression filters working overtime overhead. Alpha dominance crackled like static along the walls, an explosive mix of pride, fear, and territorial hunger. The stage lights washed everything in white and blue, bleaching nuance from faces and sharpening every edge. Alek Silverson stood at the podium like a still point in a storm. Across from him, his running mate, Counselor Barris Holt, a broad-shouldered alpha with a polished smile and a scent tuned to command, paced as he spoke, voice rising and falling with rehearsed outrage.
You talk about reform as if it doesn't cost anything,
Holt snapped, stabbing a finger toward Alek.
as if tradition is disposable, as if the alphas who built this city should apologize for their strength.
A murmur rippled through the crowd. Approval. Agreement. Teeth showing. Alek waited for his opponent to finish. When Holt finally paused, breath flaring, Alek leaned toward the microphone. His scent, cedar, frost, restraint, cut cleanly through the room.
Strength
Alek said calmly.
that must be defended by exclusion is not strength. It's fear with better branding.
The room reacted. Boos erupted. A chair scraped loudly. Somewhere in the middle rows, an Alpha laughed, sharp and ugly. Holt seized the momentum.
You hear that? This is what happens when you shame dominance. When you blur the lines nature put in place. Alphas lead. Betas manage. Omegas.
Alek raised one hand. The gesture was small, but gained a reaction. The sound system didn't need to amplify his voice. It carried anyway. No. The word landed like a dropped axe.
I will not win this office by encouraging you to forget how to govern yourselves.
Alek continued, eyes sweeping the crowd.
You are not animals reacting to stimulus. You are citizens. If my policies threaten you so deeply that you must shout them down, then perhaps you should ask why.
The crowd roared back, no longer coherent. A drink sailed through the air, plastic cup spinning end over end. Rowan was already moving. He vaulted the barrier at the edge of the stage, body colliding with Alek's shoulder, just as the drink exploded against the podium, liquid splashing harmlessly across the front panel.
Sir,
Rowan hissed, gripping Alek's arm in an attempt to pull him off stage.
we need to.
Something else flew. Hard. Fast. A dull, wet crack. Alek staggered half a step as the object, metal, heavy, caught his brow. Blood welled instantly, hot and red, spilling down into his right eye. The world blurred on that side, light fracturing into white streaks. The auditorium erupted. Security surged. People shouted. An enraged Alpha near the front was dragged back, roaring incoherently. Rowan's heart slammed into his ribs.
Alek, look at me.
Rowan said, panicked, hands firm on Alek's shoulders, fear spiking so sharply his scent flared despite himself.
You're bleeding. We have to get you off the stage, now.
Alek lifted one hand, not to Rowan, but to the crowd. They didn't quiet immediately, so he waited again. Blood ran freely now, streaking down his cheek, dripping onto the front of his shirt. He wiped at his eye once, impatiently, smearing red across his knuckles. When he spoke, his voice was iron hard.
This,
He said, gesturing to the chaos around them.
is not power.
The noise faltered.
This is what happens when people are taught that dominance excuses them from discipline. When you confuse biology with permission.
The crowd stilled, stunned by the sight of him standing there, injured, unflinching, calmly furious.
You want an alpha who loses control when challenged?
Alek demanded.
Look around you. You want a leader who throws things when he disagrees?
His gaze locked on the section where the attacker had been.
I bleed because one of you chose violence over restraint. That is not my failure. It is yours.
Silence fell. Thick. Rowan tugged again, desperation breaking through his composure.
Alek, please. That's enough. You've made your point. Let me get you out of here.
For a moment, just one, Alek didn't move. Then he, slow and deliberate, the fight draining from his posture.
All right,
He said quietly. Rowan didn't wait. He guided Alek firmly toward the rear of the stage, body half shielding him as security closed ranks. Backstage was chaos, voices overlapping, medics rushing forward, but Rowan saw only the blood, still slipping past Alek's lashes, the way his jaw clenched against the pain.
Sit,
Rowan ordered, pushing Alek gently into a chair as a medic pressed gauze to the wound. Rowan's hands were shaking now. He couldn't stop them.
You scared the hell out of me,
he said hoarsely, forcing his voice into something calm and soft.
You can't just stand there like that. You're not indestructible.
Alek glanced up at him, one eye sharp, the other half-lidded with blood and irritation.
I had control,
Alek said confidently, but Rowan swallowed hard.
You were attacked.
and still leading.
Alek replied softly. The medic began cleaning the cut. Alek barely flinched. Rowan looked away, jaw tight, chest aching with a fear he had no language for. Fear that went far beyond politics, far beyond duty. He had stepped in front of Alek without thinking, and he knew, with terrifying clarity, that he would do it again. Chapter 16. The Breaking Point. Rowan was still operating at a level of professional perfection that bordered on the miraculous. Reports were flawless, budgets were tight, and media response was always mitigated before it became a crisis. But the cost was now carved onto his face for everyone to see. His eyes, usually sharp and bright blue, were perpetually shadowed. He was thinner, his expensive suits hanging a bit looser than before. His pine leather scent, normally so aggressive, felt strained, almost brittle, a shell struggling to contain the exhaustion and escalating panic underneath. Alek had watched the decline for 2 weeks after the debate debacle. He'd seen the dark circles deepen, heard the hushed, frustrated phone calls Rowan took outside, and witnessed the way Rowan jumped whenever a door opened too quickly. The nightmares, which Rowan tried desperately to hide, had become almost nightly visitors. Alek knew the source. The unrealistic expectations of his father's demands, the fear of losing the campaign, and the accumulating toxic guilt that Alek knew Rowan was living a lie. Rowan was running himself into the ground and convinced he was a ticking time bomb. Alek decided it had to stop. He waited until after midnight. The headquarters was empty save for the two of them. Alek found Rowan slumped over the finance reports, not asleep, but dangerously close to it.
Rowan,
Alek said firmly, attempting to mask the fear of his concerns. Rowan stood violently, snapping upright. He instantly smoothed his suit, reaching for a file, his armor snapping back into place.
Sir, I apologize. I was just finalizing the Q3 projections. They're tight, but manageable. I can work on the messaging for the...
Stop, Alek commanded, crossing the study. He pulled the chair opposite of Rowan close and sat down, his presence calming with the potent blend of cedar and ozone, forcing an intimacy Rowan couldn't escape.
the projections can wait. I want to talk about you.
Rowan's jaw tightened, and he swallowed hard, not liking where this conversation was heading.
There is nothing to discuss, sir. My performance is consistent.
Your performance is stellar, bordering on self-destructive.
Alek corrected, his tone gentle but insistent.
You look like you haven't slept more than 2 hours in a week. You flinch if anyone touches you. You're fighting just to hold yourself together.
Alek leaned forward, looking up at the man who his campaign depended on, his voice dropping to a desperate whisper.
You are running yourself into the ground, Rowan. You are terrified that if you stop, the whole world, the campaign, your father's approval, your life will collapse around you.
Rowan inhaled sharply, turning away immediately, his hands clenching into fists at his sides.
I don't know what you mean, sir. I am your campaign manager, and I am focused on the win.
The tension in the room grew white-hot. Alek felt a sudden fierce surge of Alpha protectiveness. The desperate desire to simply dominate the situation, to strip away the lie, to crush Rowan's will until he confessed the pain that was eating him alive. Just say it. Just tell me what your father demands. Just admit that the lie is killing you. Tell me, I know. Tell me you want me to save you. Alek thought, wished Rowan would say. His voice dropped lower, carrying the full weight of his protective authority.
Rowan, look at me. Whatever you are hiding, whatever fear is haunting you, you need to put it down. It is killing you. Just tell me the truth.
Rowan shook his head, eyes darting to the window, refusing to turn towards Alek's piercing eyes that saw too much.
There is nothing to tell. You are seeing instability where there is only stress.
Alek wanted to scream. He wanted to reach out, tear the useless scent patch from Rowan's neck, and flood the room with his own scent until Rowan finally felt safe enough to break. He knew that one more word, one more push, would shatter Rowan's carefully constructed world, forcing a confession born of fear and powerlessness. Alek closed his eyes, forcing his powerful drives into submission. He has to choose me. He has to trust me enough to tell me the truth. When Alek spoke again, his voice was heavy, strained with the effort of his forced self-control.
Fine. If you can't talk about the truth that is killing you, then go home. Get 7 hours of sleep, minimum. I will cancel your morning meeting.
Alek rose, walking toward the window to give Rowan space. He had made his decision. He would not force the confession. He wanted Rowan, fiercely, desperately, but only if Rowan was willing to choose honesty and vulnerability. Only if he was willing to surrender the control that defined his entire identity and trust the Alpha who already knew his secret.
Now go, Rowan,
Alek commanded softly.
or I'll carry you out myself.
Rowan slowly gathered his papers, his breathing soft and shallow. He knew he had just survived a confrontation that should have been his end. He left the study, the terrifying silence of Alek's deliberate restraint echoing in his mind. He was still safe, still employed, but the space between them was now charged with the dangerous, unspoken truth of his identity.